So you want cafe quality espresso at home, but perhaps you don't have the space or the budget for a full dual boiler setup. The Lelit Mara X might just be that bridge you need. It's compact, it's powerful, and it brings a unique approach to heat management. But does it deliver where it counts? Now, speaking of making things count, if you love brewing at home and love getting rewarded for it, check out our Brew Points Loyalty Club. This is where you earn points and get exclusive perks where you make every coffee purchase work for you. You can check out Brew Points from the link down below. Let's now check out the Lelit Mara X. The Mara X has a classic Italian prosumer look. It comes in black and white and also stainless steel. And it has that recognizable 58mm E61 group head and a compact footprint that fits into small kitchens. Now, I love that it's quite flush with the bottom, so nothing can easily get underneath. And it feels solid and well built. It doesn't easily move around on the counter when you're using it. With a straightforward and intuitive layout, up top you have a grill for placing 3 to 5 cups, and then keeping these passively warm above the boiler. Behind this you have a decent sized 2.5 litre water reservoir tucked neatly at the back. This comes with a water softener in the box. And there's a detail that I like found on the handle of the tank where it lets you set when you need to replace the next water softener. Now the handles on the taps out the front here, these are really easy to use, turn on and close. And they are plastic on the stainless steel machine and premium wood on the black and the white models. They also have cool to touch steam and hot water wands, which I think is a fantastic feature to have on any espresso machine. Behind this, you also have a dual pressure gauge showing you brewing pressure and steam pressure. And then on the other side of that, you have that simple lever system for starting and stopping the shot. There's also the 3-way solenoid valve, and you get a metal blind filter basket for back flushing the machine. Now, at the bottom and underneath the group head, you have this large pull-out drip tray. It has a grill on top. And then inside, it's quite generous, the capacity of the drip tray. It's stainless steel, and it also has little silicone tabs around the outside of the metal drip tray where the grill sits on top. And then that way it's not gonna make any annoying vibration noises when you're brewing. There's also a neat little cup riser, which I think is a great inclusion to this overall package. And with the very Lelit group handle, you have a fantastic way how the espresso comes out. It doesn't come out either side. It kind of wraps around the group head and comes forwards into the cup, which I really like. And there's also a fantastic tamper. Now, I can't speak highly of many espresso machine manufacturers, including great tampers, but Lelit is definitely one of them. They've included a metal tamp that is rated at 58.55mm. So it is that perfect fit that goes all the way to the edge of your filter baskets. So you do not need to purchase another tamp with your Lelit machine, which I think is fantastic. Now, in turning on and operating the machine, you have that on-off button below the pressure gauge. And then there are 3 lights above this indicating boiler activity, water tank capacity, and the on and off mode for the machine and other applications. Now, overall, this is a machine that is designed around competing in the heat exchanging category. And one of the Mara X's biggest selling points is how it handles heat management with only one boiler. Now, to preface this, it has been a while since I've explained single, heat exchanging, and dual boilers, so hear me out. A heat exchanger acts as a bridge between a single boiler and a dual boiler machine, balancing cost, convenience, and performance. You see, single boiler machines just have one boiler, and they use it for both brewing and steaming. This means you have to switch between the brew temperature at 94 degrees Celsius to a steam temperature at around 124 degrees Celsius. And this takes time. And then also after steaming, the boiler is way too hot to brew espresso again. So you have to flush water into the boiler to cool it down before pulling another shot. And you also can't brew and steam at the same time, making workflow a little slower. Now, dual boiler machines, on the other hand, these have 2 separate boilers. One dedicated to brewing, so it will hold its temperature, and one dedicated to steaming. And this system allows for precise temperature control of both boilers and also simultaneous brewing and steaming actions. But these machines tend to be much larger and more expensive. Enter heat exchanging machines. These find that middle ground. They use a single boiler, but instead of having to switch temperatures, they have a separate pipe running inside that one boiler. And this pipe pushes water through, and that flash heats that water, exchanging heat from that steam boiler to the water running through the pipe, which becomes the right temperature for brewing, whilst that main boiler can maintain the heat for steaming. And this allows you to also brew and steam at the same time, just like a dual boiler machine, but at a lower cost and with a smaller footprint, only having one boiler. There is a trade-off though. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that heat exchanging machines can overheat the brew water if you leave the machine on for too long. Since that brewing water is cycling in and out through that pipe that runs through the hotter steam boiler, the brew water will gradually get hotter than ideal. And that's why HX machines, or heat exchangers, are not turn on and forget machines. They work best when you turn them on, make your coffee, and then turn them straight back off again. So in short, heat exchangers do offer speed and workflow with convenience compared to a single boiler, but they do require a little bit of temperature management to avoid overheating. Yet, when it does come to the Lelit Mara X, unlike traditional heat exchanging machines, where the boiler is just managed for both the brew and the steaming together, the Mara X lets you temperature prioritize brewing or steaming, using two temperature probes set inside the boiler, sort of like rudimentary PID. Here you can set it for brew priority and get more stable water temperatures for espresso brewing. Or if you switch it to steam priority, it will ramp up the temperature and pressure for stronger milk steaming. The fact that you can prioritize brewing or steaming is a game changer for a HX machine. But the Mara X just doesn't stop there. It also gives you the ability to fine-tune your brew temperature with 3 selectable settings: warm, hot, and extra hot. And whilst it's not a true PID system like you would find in a dual boiler where you can select the exact temperature, this kind of flexibility does let you tailor your espresso to your taste and your beans. Something that most HX machines simply don't offer. Now, another easily missed detail with the Mara X is after pulling that first shot, the machine automatically prioritizes steaming for the next 120 seconds. So you can move straight from running an espresso into milk frothing. Now, if you have your machine set on coffee priority mode, and then you also have the machine set at a temperature that is warm, you will come across steam pressures that may be too low for a jug of milk. So I can see why Lelit have added this to kind of counteract possible settings within the machine. Now, it is also important to know then that with this priority of steaming, there is then a small cool down period before pulling another shot. Now, some say this is 4 minutes, but I'm happy to flush the group head through with some cold water and go again within 2. But it is something that's really important to be aware of when brewing on the Mara X. Let's now get the machine turned on and warmed up, and we'll see how those temperature modes impact the workflow and the taste of the espresso. I'll pull 3 shots at each of the temperature mode settings and then break down the flavor differences of the coffee, as well as testing the milk steaming across that spectrum of settings as well. Now, I will say that the Lelit has now been turned on and has been sitting warmed up for about 20 minutes. The temperature light stopped blinking at around the 12-minute mark, but you do want to allow a little bit of extra time for the group head and the group handle to warm up to an ideal temperature as well. But in the manual, it says 24 minutes. It's around 24 minutes now, and on the default setting on how the Mara X comes out of the box, it is set to the coffee priority and the warm mode. And that's the lowest, or rather the coolest setting you can begin at brewing. So we'll test the espresso across that, and then we'll ramp up the pressure slowly from coffee priority warm to coffee priority hot, then to extra hot. And then we might switch it up one more just to see how it steams on the steaming mode. Let's get started for the first coffee, shall we? I got the Vari VS3 with me today. I think makes a great combination next to the Mara X. Now, the Mara X comes with 3 filter baskets, and they're all IMS baskets made specifically for Lelit. We have a single basket, a double basket, and an extra large basket. So the single will hold around 7 to 9 grams. The double will hold around, I think it's 14 to 18, quite a large spectrum there. And then this basket I've currently got will hold, I think it was 17 to 21 or 18 to 21 grams. So I've chosen the extra large basket, which in reality is, I guess, a double basket anyway, a double espresso. I've placed 19.5 grams in here. We're aiming for 40 grams out. Let's do this. Now these glasses are quite hot now. I've been on top of the machine for 25 minutes. The machine was cold when I first started, so these are a nice temperature. Now, being a lever machine with a mechanical start to the espresso shot, there is a soft pre-infusion, a gentle pre-infusion at the beginning. And I would almost add between 5 to 7 seconds on your shot time if you're starting from the moment you lift the lever, because I do notice that that went really well. I do notice that when I lift the lever on the machine, there is an initial pressure build-up from the pump, and then it will actually then start sending the water in over the top of the coffee. It doesn't happen immediately. I don't believe the water drops down straight away as soon as you lift the lever. So from that, I would, again, just add 5 to 6 seconds to your shot. I need a spoon. All right, I've just made my notes on the warm espresso, the first espresso that I've had, default setting, coffee priority, warm mode. And now I have a jug. Now this jug will fill a large mug. So it's not a smaller 350 ml jug, it is a 600 ml jug. And we're just gonna steam and see how it manages it. Nice quick purge. We've got about 1.2 on the steam bar right now. It's quickly dropped under 1. And yeah, it's sitting at about 0.8 of a bar at the moment, and I will say it's not impossible, but it's a bit tricky. That's fully turned on. Yeah, it's not moving the greatest, I would say. Interesting. Now, from that perspective, you might say that this machine doesn't have enough steam pressure to steam milk, and that is with that 120 seconds. That's within the 120 seconds of the espresso. It was just enough, but not really. It took a lot of work, and that's with my barista skills making it work. But otherwise, I think I would want a little bit more steam if I was steaming a large jug of milk each time. All right, interesting. All right, let's go to the next setting. So we'll just take this guard off, and default setting is 0, next setting is 1, and that's going to go up to extra hot. No. Default setting is 0, and a setting of 1 will take it up to warm. We'll just give it 5 minutes and we'll see how we go. All right, so the machine is now back up to temperature. It took me turning the machine off and back on again for it to reset, recalibrate and set to the new temperature of hot instead of warm. But the light is now off. So the boiler, I assume, has reached the temperature that it needs to be at, and we're good to brew again. Let's do this. Well, these cups are nice and hot. It's about 6 seconds. And then if you wait 6 seconds to start your timer and then you count another 6 seconds, that's when it usually drops. So it drops on the 12-second mark. This is good. Yeah, it ran a little bit faster that time. I expect that because it is a hotter coffee, supposedly. All right, so yes, that espresso is much hotter than the last one. I'm just going to give it a sec to cool down, just to allow those flavors to really come out. So we're on the medium setting or the hot setting, and we're going to steam milk and see how this goes, if it's any better than the previous setting. You can see it's up to 1.8 bars on the steam pressure. Ooh, definitely sounds stronger. Let's go. All the way. Yeah, straight into a spin. Yeah, this is no effort whatsoever. This is much closer to what I would expect a machine is capable of doing. It's already starting to warm up now. That was a much easier flow of milk steaming. Yeah, happy with that. And it stayed at 1.5 bars the whole time. It hasn't dropped down at all. So that's the key difference between warm and hot when it comes to steaming. And we're still on, remember, we're still on coffee priority mode. However, it is a hotter espresso, and the milk steaming overall, the system is hotter, so it can create better steam, I guess. All right, let me finish this espresso and then we'll move on to hot. All right, extra hot espresso. We're still on coffee priority. We haven't moved over to steam priority yet, but we're doing extra hot espresso. I gave it another 5 minutes. Now, because the machine's already been on between the warm mode and the hot mode, I did turn the machine off and turn it back on again to get it into extra hot mode, but I noticed that the light for the temperature didn't blink, as in perhaps the temperature's already reached extra hot. This machine is fully stainless steel. I should have mentioned it has a 1.8 litre stainless steel boiler, and it's quite hot. Like, the fronts of the machine is quite hot. I wouldn't touch the group head right now, but the steam ones are obviously cool touch, which are fantastic. And the glasses up top, I would say, are beautifully warm. Let's do this. Yep, consistently drops at about 10 seconds to 12 seconds, depending on your grind size, depending on the heat of the machine, depending on your beans. Around about the same though. That's good to see. I'm going to let that espresso cool down a bit. Unless you like your coffee really hot, this is like burning your tongue hot. So I'll let it cool down a little bit and we'll get straight into steaming the milk. It is actually almost on its way to 2 bars of pressure now, being extra hot in the system. Let's see how this goes. Doesn't feel like any more on the purge. It's nice that you don't feel like you're turning it like too many times. It's just the right amount of turns to get up to full pressure. It's consistently sitting at 1.5. I think it is a bit more of a spin in the milk for this. Like on the hot setting, I wasn't kissing it as much, but this seems to want to kiss and I have to put the steam wand under the milk more, and it got to temperature much quicker. Yeah, right. Oh, that's professional milk there. That looks delicious. I would just say that did it quicker. Maybe a little bit more control. You know, when you're steaming milk, everything being quicker means you just have to get it right and in the right position and everything like that. Whereas if it's a little bit slower and you're learning how to steam milk, then you have a little bit more give in terms of getting the milk right to begin with. All right, let's taste this espresso. It is still hot. That's awesome. Like some espresso, you leave it a minute or two and the temperature plummets, but this is still nice and warm, and it's probably because the cups are nice and warm as well. So we've made 3 espressos, all on coffee priority. I've now flicked the machine over to steam priority. What I might want to do now is I might just turn it down to maybe hot instead of extra hot. I'm not even sure if this button applies when it comes to steam priority because this is mainly the brew temperature. But we've gone to steam priority. I'll turn the machine off and back on again just so it can reset. Now I can see that that light is now off and it's going to probably flash again as it, resets to a new temperature setting. We'll come back and steam the milk. Let me just talk quickly about the espresso and how the temperature changed the flavor of the coffee. Now, it was the same coffee, same dose, same extraction and everything each time. What was different was the water temperature. So really it does all depend on what coffee you're using, and I think that's something you're going to hear about the Mara X is you can adjust the temperature to depending on what coffee. If you're using a light roast, a medium roast, a dark roast. Today I was using a medium roast. The warm setting actually was hotter than I expected. I expected a cooler espresso, and that kind of leads me to believe I could probably use the machine sooner than that 24 minutes that I sat waiting for the machine to heat up, as the machine will just continue to heat up. It will not kind of reach a steady temperature in terms of brew temperature and then just flatline each time. Like the longer you let this machine stay on, the hotter that brew temperature will eventually get. But it was hotter than I expected. The espresso was sweet. It was really well balanced with acidity. It had a fast finish and a light body, which was expected from the coffee anyway. And in comparison to that, the hot setting was a much hotter espresso. When I say the warmer was hotter than expected, the hot setting, the espresso was much hotter. Had to let it cool a little bit. However, when it did cool, it was brighter, juicier, a more rounded shot, a better extraction. It was creamier, a much richer espresso. That probably goes towards the medium roast that I was using, the type of coffee. It was a single origin, and it really just kind of pulled everything out that I was looking for in it. Now, when it comes to the extra hot espresso, it was really hot coffee. Now, when you're adding milk into this, I guess that temperature is kind of lost depending on the temperature of the milk. The coffee is going to stay nice and hot for a lot longer though. I don't feel the extra temperature made the coffee taste any better this time around. It certainly didn't kind of dull anything out, but I would say just because of that hot temperature and me drinking it as a straight black espresso, I think the experience of having to wait for it to cool and it's still much hotter when I get to it, I would just say, from my experience, that middle ground, that hot setting for my espresso was just kind of like the ideal. It was perfect where I could just let it sit for a moment and then drink and enjoy. This is still hot. After all this time, this is a nice temperature. It's bright, it's balanced, it's juicy, but it isn't just, I guess it just isn't as round as the medium setting. Anyway, that's a lot of talk about the espresso and how it changes flavor. So you've got a bit of play there when it comes to the coffee priority and what temperature setting you're on. Let's now just quickly, now that we're on a steam priority, it's still sitting at only 1.5 bars, but let's just steam another jug of milk and see what difference that makes. Not much difference from the purge. Let's go. And essentially what Lelit say is that with this button down this side, coffee priority will manage the brew temperature. Whereas steam priority acts more like a regular heat exchanging machine, where you will need to flush the group head before brewing. As you can hear, there's a lot of steam coming out of that now, so that is where the brew temperature has gone over and above 100 degrees Celsius, and there's now steam coming out. And you'll only find that with this machine when you're on steam priority. That is not what happens when you have it as coffee priority. And showing, also coming back to the milk steaming under coffee priority, I would say warm was just not enough unless you're using a small jug. Medium was that perfect medium ground. I think that's the setting I would use consistently with this machine. And then the hot setting, I mean, if you have no problems with hot coffee, then that would probably be just as good for brewing and steaming. That would be my thoughts with that. Now, there are a few more things I want to add to this, so let's jump back into the review. After spending some time with the Lelit Mara X, it is clear that no machine is without quirks. But how does this machine deliver where it counts? Let's break down the pros and cons so you can decide if this machine is the right fit for you. Starting with the pros, it has to be the compact footprint. The Mara X packs prosumer level performance into this small form factor. It will fit into any kitchen and not feel oversized. Then that 3 selectable brew temperatures where you can fine tune your espresso to match different coffee profiles and to your preferences, I think is an amazing feature for a HX machine. And the powerful steam performance. Despite its compact size, the Mara X delivers strong commercial level steam power. And something I haven't mentioned is the quiet operation. It achieves this using a silent vibratory pump in the back. I would also add an additional feature which is a pro, which would be these cool touch steam wands. And then overall, not a very commercially viable feature, but one that I think it has is the vibe. This machine has great vibes. With the wooden handles on the black and white, the overall package with the cup riser, the metal grates on top and the bottom, I just think it looks fantastic. The cons? Well, it's not a true PID system, meaning there's still some variances in the heat and requirements of management for heat stability with this machine. And you have to take into account the short cool down period between milk drinks. Whilst powerful, the Mara X isn't designed for back-to-back-to-back milk drinks like a dual boiler is capable of. After steaming, it does need a brief cool down period to bring the temperatures back down for optimal espresso brewing and to go again. And then lastly, I would say the heat up time. The Mara X takes about 24 minutes to reach full brewing and steaming temperatures. Not the slowest, but definitely longer than some machines within its class. Now, I would personally be happy to brew at the 12 to 15 minute mark from turning it on, but it all depends on what settings you're running and how you like your coffee. And then further to add to this, I want to reiterate that this machine is not something that you leave on After making a few coffees, go to work, come back a few hours, and then make a few more from the standby mode. You are best to turn this machine off and then turn it back on again to maintain good brewing temperatures. The Lelit Mara X is one of the most refined HX machines out there, offering a taste of dual boiler control without the price tag or the bulk of a dual boiler machine. If you're stepping up from an entry-level machine and you want something compact yet powerful, it is an excellent choice. But if you are making, say, 3 to 4 back-to-back milk drinks daily within one setting, you might want to consider a true dual boiler machine. Yet, for those of you who love to experiment with temperature and flavour, the Mara X does deliver. It's an espresso machine that rewards attention to detail just like great coffee does. And there is no better way to illustrate this than what Lelit themselves write in their extended manual of this machine, which goes, "Half the result depends on how you use this machine. A passionate expert is an essential part to the espresso production and can enhance the result to bring out additional value to the final product. Passion and practice are, therefore, the secrets to learning how to use the machine. You can experiment with different blends of coffee, grinding, pressing, water temperature and pressure, not just to make an espresso, but to make one that is right just for you." And I couldn't have said that better myself. So if you have any further questions or experiences of your own with the Lelit Mara X, add them in the comment section down below and we'll get straight back to you. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video, and we'll see you in the next one.